Welcome to Week 3, Highlights of the Basic Conditions of Employment Act. The purpose of the Act is to advance the economic development and social justice by fulfilling the primary objectives of the Act, which is to give effect to and regulate the right to fair labor practices as set out in Section 23, subsection 1 of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa. The Act establishes and enforces the basic conditions of employment and regulates the variation of basic conditions of employment and gives effect to obligations by the Republic as a member state of the International Labour Organization. The Basic Conditions of Employment Act covers all aspects relating to the conditions of employment for the employee at work. The aspects that are covered are working hours, daily wage, overtime, the average working hours and calculation of same, meal intervals that are required, leave, calculation of remuneration and wages, as well as the conduct that is prohibited by the employer, to mention a few aspects that the Act regulates. Some of the aspects to highlight the Basic Conditions of Employment Act regulates: leave. This consists of annual leave, maternity leave, paternity leave, and family responsibility leave. Remuneration. An employee or worker in Section 1 of the National Minimum Wage of 2018 who works for less than 4 hours on any day must be paid for 4 hours work on that day. Average of work hours or hours of work. The ordinary hours of work and overtime of an employee may be averaged over a period of up to 4 months in terms of the collective agreement between the parties. Prohibited conduct by the employer. An employer must not require or accept any payment by or on behalf of an employee or potential employee in respect of the employment of or the allocation of work to any employee, or require an employee or potential employee to purchase any goods, products, or services from the employer or from any business or person nominated by the employer. So why is it important to highlight aspects of the Basic Conditions of Employment Act? It's important because employees complain that when their wife suffered from a miscarriage and had to go to hospital in order to get attended to, that the employer refused to give them family responsibility leave. And it's important to understand and know the rights as envisaged in the Basic Conditions of Employment Act, because you need to understand the application thereof. And so in that instance, the Basic Conditions of Employment Act is applicable, and the employer had no grounds to refuse the leave and was entitled to the leave. And so disputes arise in terms of interpreting the conditions of employment that an employee is exposed to. And so another instance is not paying for overtime. If you work more than the hours that are sent out in your contract, and usually for most people you have anything from a 6 to 8 hour day, depending on your uh, contract. Then after that, you're entitled to overtime. And so there is an aspect in people's contracts that obviously relates to overtime, that you have to do specific duties. So, of course, in certain type of work, when you work in order to catch up, or you couldn't finish your work in a day, then you work extra hours. That does not necessarily equate to overtime, for example. So one always has to also look at the contract, look at the nature of work of what the employee is doing. So enjoy your task this week and good luck. Thank you.